us a better people. Mr. Speaker, I wish to give high praise to the Dominican public and remind them to continue to be diligent as we continue to battle with COVID-19. The Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence. Mr. Speaker, Senator John Finn seems to be the shadow minister to the Minister of Education, but she seems to be stuck somewhere between the 80s and the 90s, and sad to say, no one takes her seriously as it pertains to education. The Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence is striving to become more responsive by providing citizens with education that prepares them to participate in the national, regional, and global economy. Everything we do at this ministry is done to reflect our mission statement, which is to build and manage an education system that is transformative, responsive, equally accessible regardless to differences, socially and environmentally sensitive, nationally relevant, globally competitive, and inspires lifelong learning. We understand that if we work within our mission statement, then our vision of every learner succeed must come to pass. For the purpose of this exercise, my presentation in this section will be made under these subheadings: human resource development, safety nets, ICT, plant maintenance and restoration projects. I will present the context of where we are now and followed by where we are going to be under this budget. Human resource development. Mr. Speaker, as articulated in the Dominican Labour Party's Manifesto 2019, Dynamic Dominica, a new season of development, our most precious asset is the people of Dominica. Therefore, this Labour government is creating the opportunity for every citizen to fulfill his or her true potential. This government has invested more than $48,710,158.65 in enabling 2,786 individuals to obtain tertiary education ranging from associate degree to PhD level. Students are pursuing studies in varying fields in science, medicine, technology, business, education, agriculture, and the arts. In this regard, I wish to thank the Dominica State College, the University of the West Indies Open Campus, Cave Hill and Mona Campus, Monroe College, Midwestern State University, and Grambling State University, among the many other universities and colleges, including those in Canada, America, China, Europe, Morocco, Cuba, and all around the world. The ministry continues to receive offers of partial and full scholarships from organizations such as the Organization of American States, Commonwealth Scholarship Commission for Scholarship in the United Kingdom and in New Zealand, the People's Republic of China, the Republic of Cuba, Morocco, Romania, and Turkey. The government also received offers for short-term training courses from Indian Technical and Economic Corporation, China, and Japan International Cooperation Agency. We extend gratitude to all these countries, institutions, and organizations for generating these prospects, and we encourage citizens to take advantage of these opportunities. Mr. Speaker, anyone listening to this cannot help but admire the level of collaboration and relationship that this Labour Party government, under the excellent leadership of Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, has built and maintained with countries all over the world. For this, Dominicans will forever be grateful. As we endeavor to embrace and build up all those who come to our shores and to prepare our people for the global reality, the Dominica State College established a successful pilot program in English as a second language. The first group of 29 students have completed the program. In addition, the college entered into a partnership with the Chinese to establish the first ever Confucius classroom in Dominica, where Dominicans will learn the Chinese language, culture, martial arts, and cooking. Technical and vocational education and training, which involves training that provides knowledge and skills for employment, is steadily gaining popularity at the global debates and government priorities for education and development agendas. Dominica State College was one of the 6 institutions in the Caribbean selected to participate in the Canada-funded Skills to Access the Green Economy program, in which women and youth at risk will be trained in the acquisition of technical and building skills. Mr. Speaker, $4.2 million represent the 40% loan debt relief announced by the Prime Minister in November of 2018. The 176 beneficiaries should consider this as an investment and use it well. Mr. Speaker, Dominican students continue to do better than many in regional exams. Last year, 15 secondary schools submitted a total of 786 students for the 2019 CSEC exams, 380 males and 324 females. When I look at this figure, I cannot ask why people think that our males are underperforming and at CXC level we have more boys registering than girls. But this is something we will investigate in the future. Dominica's overall performance at CSEC exam was 81.6%, which was 9.7% above the regional average. Dominica performed above the regional average in 30 out of the 33 subjects attempted. Also, 92% of our students attend competent and above in the 2019 CCSLC exams. Mr. Speaker, I pause to highly commend our teachers and principals from early childhood education all the way up to secondary school for the tremendous job they are doing, sometimes under constraints. I say to them, in this time of education reform in Dominica, things can only get better. I ask these teachers and principals to be patient and continue to do your best. We started the year in high gear, but COVID-19 put the brakes on us. However, we are moving ahead with you as our priority. Your government, your ministry, and more so, your minister understand it all too well, and we pledge our continued support and commitment to make life better for you, our valued teachers and principals. Mr. Speaker, the government through the Ministry of Education continues to build capacity in all our people. We recognize that very early in children's lives is an important time because it is when children learn how to interact with others and develop interests that will last with them throughout their lives. Mr. Speaker, it's a common misperception that early childhood is only about learning basic skills. This government understands that it is so much more than that. We understand that it's a time when children learn critical social and emotional skills, and a partnership is formed between parent and child and the teacher. When this is done successfully, it lays the groundwork for this to continue throughout the child's education. Therefore, numerous workshops and trainings were held with early childhood educators and roving caregivers. Some topics covered in these trainings were the SRO number 39 of 2003, which are regulations for early childhood, how to use the high-scope preschool curriculum, physical and cognitive development in children from 0 to 5 years, and making play meaningful. 46 infant teachers were trained under the Early Learners Program. This training included how to use a Bloom software, teaching reading and assessing of early reading. Last week, 17 teachers completed a course of study on teaching reading organized by the Eastern Caribbean Joint Board of Teachers Education and UWI. They are currently awaiting their certificates. Mr. Speaker, research has shown that children with special education needs who are in inclusive classes are absent less often, and they develop stronger skills in all areas. In an effort to ensure that all our children succeed, special emphasis is being placed on special education. All the teachers who were inducted into the teaching service were educated on students at risk. In addition, 20 teachers from 28 schools completed training on autism spectrum disorder. We are pleased to report that Ricky Barry, Dominica's first speech and hearing impaired student who graduated from the Casibru Secondary School, is doing well at Dominica State College. Mr. Speaker, the library service provides safe spaces for vulnerable groups within the population, information and research, support, and leisure reading for all citizens. These services include internet access, information, and literacy skills to over 3,000 users, and technical support to rebuilding more sustainable library services at schools and at district level. Safety net programs. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Education continues to provide for the vulnerable students in the system through its safety net programs managed by different departments in the planning unit. Under the Education Trust Fund, 723 students benefited from school transfer fees at the cost of $361,500. 131 students were assisted with payment of CSEC exam at the cost of $31,891. 99 students received transportation allowance at the cost of $57,350. 5,700 students received uniforms. 118 students were assisted with payment of school fees and registration fees at $41,680. 753 students were transported to school at the cost of $1,965,197. 2,058 students from 40 schools benefited from the school feeding program at the cost of $112,412.71 for food, and $31,900 was paid to cooks under the NEP. We thank Ms. Renata, our Swiss sponsor, for sponsoring the food for the program at 7 schools. The Ministry of Health and Education are key players in the development of the school nutrition policy, which gives clear direction and guiding principles for the efficiency and effectiveness of food services at our schools. Textbook scheme continued to provide books. 5 early childhood centers, 13 primary schools, and 3 secondary schools received furniture. These included infant cots and chairs, kidney tables, storage cupboard, pre-K, junior, senior, teachers and visitors chairs, teachers tables and whiteboards. Under the Basic Need Trust Fund 9, funds were allocated for the procurement of staff and students' furniture for Clifton, Mount Prosper, and Sansover primary schools, and we express our deepest gratitude to the BNTF. Students and teachers continue to receive psychosocial support from our team of counselors, even through a hotline. ICT. Integrating technology in the classroom at the earliest possible stage will help to engage students with their learning in all subjects and familiarize them sooner to the increasing digital nature of work. Therefore, one of our goals at the Ministry of Education is to ensure that the availability of internet in all classrooms at every school. As of now, I can report that all 73 schools on the island have internet, and 32 schools have internet in all classrooms. The Ministry of Education thanks IT for Dominica, a group of Canadians, for their donation of Chromebooks, for assisting with installing learning technologies in 23 schools, and for training our IT technicians. We also thank the Rotaract Club of Portsmouth for assisting us in accessing devices. 50 mini laptops and 900 Chromes were distributed among our primary schools. Within the last year, the ministry distributed 180 desktops to secondary schools to facilitate the implementation of technical drawing for CSEC. 420 mini laptops and 28 charging trolleys were also distributed among secondary schools. COVID-19 fast-forwarded everything when the National Online Education Platform was initiated in March of 2020 as part of the Ministry of Education COVID-19 Action Plan. All 73 schools on the island had access to the online platform. Teachers could readily create classrooms using the education.gov.dm email addresses and continue teaching from the safety of their homes. Students could further be invited to these classrooms through student-issued email addresses and could also be engaged in learning activities from the safety and comfort of their homes. Education officers at all levels were able to monitor and offer assistance to teachers, while principals could continue their day-to-day clinical supervision in the online classrooms. Approximately 14,000 individuals were part of this National Online Education Platform initiative. This included 1,021 teachers and over 11,000 students from the primary and secondary schools. To ensure inclusion, efforts were also made to include special education teachers and their students, and early childhood educators and their students. The National Online Google Classroom platform was equipped with various tools such as Zoom and Google. Other online sites and learning platforms such as Digital Learning Hub, Flow Study, and CXC Learning Hub were easily integrated in the Google Classroom. Support and training classrooms were also created for district officers, teachers, students, and parents. Additionally, resources to help guide students and teachers alike have been placed in these support classrooms. Having established the national platform, communications within the Ministry of Education has improved, as officers can readily communicate to various stakeholders via the education.gov.dm issued email addresses. Direct support was given to schools and teachers through an online hotline, or you can just say hotline, operated by EMIS technicians and staff. Dominica State College successfully transitioned to online short courses during the COVID-19 period and for the foreseeable future. The college robotics team participated in the first global challenge held in Dubai from 24th to 27th October 2019. Dominica was placed among the top performers in the competition. We highly commend the efforts of the teachers and their students. And I want to pause to commend Renata Loader from Petit Soufrier, who was part of that team. Maintenance. 11 contracts were approved by the Ministry of Finance for repairs to school and the Science and Technology building. All projects have been completed. Flooring works at Monjon and Woodford Hill Primary, fencing at Soufrier Primary, rehabilitation of existing courthouse, construction of a 5-classroom courthouse, and demolition of old wing at the Dominica Grammar School. Plumbing works at Bakatel Primary, Isaiah Thomas Primary, and Cassibus Secondary, and the Education Science and Technology building. Remediation and deep cleaning at the Education Science and Technology building. Construction of 2-classroom timber structure at Thibault Primary. Repairs at Grandfort Primary. All the above at a total of $1,082,356.04. As part of routine maintenance, minor works were also undertaken at various schools. This included, but were not limited to, plumbing, electrical, repairs, and power washing. This cost $308,569.02. Mr. Speaker, the other project, which was rebuilding of a courthouse at the Cassibru Secondary, did not come through. Cassibru, because the plans were changed. Cassibru Secondary needs more than a 2-classroom wooden courthouse. In terms of TVET and CVQ support, through the BNTF, 2 greenhouses have been installed at the Fairchild Secondary School, 2 are expected to be placed at the Cassibru Secondary School, and 1 each at Portsmouth Secondary and Dominica Community High School. Work started on the upgrading of the auto mechanic facilities at the Fairchild Secondary School. The Maria Holder Memorial Trust Fund has collaborated with the Ministry of Education in constructing new early childhood centers in Bells, Concord, Roseau, Trafalgar, and Warner. The early childhood unit also received 144 chairs, 21 half-moon tables, and 3 open shelves from the Maria Holder Memorial Trust Fund. Capital projects. The Salisbury Primary School, which was funded by the Indian government through UNDP, CDB, and the government of Dominica, is completed. Keys were handed over to the principal earlier this month. Stabilization of the slope at the back of the Maho Primary School in preparation for building was undertaken at a cost of $170,654.49. The refurbishment of the Wattenwaven Primary School, financed at $594,037.90 by the Maria Holder Memorial Trust, is expected to be completed by the 1st of September 2020. Design plans for all other projects and the bidding process for most are completed. The process of pre-qualification is completed for 3 other capital projects undertaken by BNTF 9. All new schools have special access, washroom facilities, and water station designed to accommodate students with physical disability. All primary schools being built now also include early childhood education centers. Expectation from this budget moving ahead. Human resource development. As we aim to develop our human resource by providing opportunities for our citizens to increase their knowledge, skills, education, and abilities, a team of public servants recently completed government's new policy document, which will guide us forward as we continue to ensure that there is at least 1 university graduate in each household. Mr. Speaker, we have begun a research project, and data is showing that we may be closer to accomplishing this vision than we think. As a matter of fact, we are finding out that some households have up to 4, 1 parent and 3 children. And if anybody chooses to challenge me, you can come to Cassibru and ask for Teacher Bonnie Home. You'll meet 1 parent with 3 children who have degrees. The policy will ensure that our students undertake course of studies that will be in line with our national priorities and the current global reality. This will ensure that when students complete their studies, they can easily find employment in Dominica, their home. In this regard, we will complete our review of the list of national priority areas, which is already revealing that more of our students must engage in the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and technical skills-based courses of study. As we move on into the reformation of the Ministry of Education, to reflect the vision of the new season of development in dynamic Dominica, we will be guided by our new education sector plan. Our 3 analytic themes are access and participation, educational quality and relevance, education governance. These 3 themes, which are tied into 3 policy goals, will address access and participation, quality teaching and learning, library service and knowledge management, curriculum and assessment, teacher training and management, leadership and accountability across 4 cutting-edge areas, which are ICT, resilience and emergency management, special needs, inclusive education and early childhood education, and capacity development for improved management. As part of the reform, the early childhood policy will be revisited to standardize crucial components of the program. as we continue to increase access to early childhood education, thus moving closer to achieving universal early childhood education. Under the Reformation, the curriculum will include life skills, civics, and financial management modules to provide our children with psychosocial and financial competencies to become self-sufficient adults. Mr. Speaker, in our effort to ensure job security for our teachers and principals and to honor our commitment made in the manifesto, 50 teachers and 4 principals have been recommended for appointment. Another list is being compiled for submission later this year. It is hoped that when the reclassification exercise is complete, a lot will be more favorable for our teachers. Deputy principal, assistant deputy principal, heads of department, senior graduate teacher, qualified teacher, and school counselor's position will be established. This means that new job description and remuneration will also be put in place. Safety nets. All our safety net programs will continue despite challenges presented by COVID-19. Parents and students to ensure that stakeholders within the education sector have the skill set needed for the 21st century and beyond. This will assist the ministry to have a blended learning environment where advanced technology can be integrated with teaching and learning. Upon the completion of a current project with the Rotaract Club, IT for Dominica Foundation, we expect to have over 120 access points available for continued installation in schools. This, we anticipate, will improve Wi-Fi access at all schools. In addition, Digicel will continue to build internet capacity, especially at secondary schools. Devices will be distributed in all districts for use by students and teachers in the new school year. That's good news. That is good news, man. In addition, 6 schools will receive donation of computers from Rotaract Club of Portsmouth. Primary schools teachers will receive training on how to use mobile-type devices in the classroom, eliminating the need to set up computer labs at primary schools. This approach is more cost-effective and appealing for use at this level. In addition, as part of the Profuturo project, 10 primary schools will be outfitted with laptop cards and e-learning systems to improve the use of ICT in teaching and learning. Mr. Speaker, technologies such as artificial intelligence, robotics, and biotech are refining what it means to be human and employable. New occupations are emerging that demand competencies that can transfer across the multiple assignments workers will experience in their lives. These occurrences present new opportunities for learners at all levels. Under the education reform exercise, we will review the curriculum and update the goals of education to prepare our students for this artificial intelligence era. Our aim is to ensure that teaching is modernized alongside societal changing needs. Teachers must be trained on how to effectively design not only lesson plans, but on how to lead and manage to bring change to their schools. Focus will be placed on how to go beyond the test and develop assessment that gauge students' critical thinking and analytic skills. The goal of this government is to make what is learned in the classroom applicable outside of the classroom. This reformation in learning is not about throwing textbooks now and replacing them with a tablet or a laptop. It is about delivering education, both core subject knowledge, but brand new digital skills in ways that are more engaging for our students. This education reform suggests a change in the focus of educational needs to see a shift from knowledge-based curriculum and towards one that concentrates on functional skills. Our school's curriculum will aim to teach our students to be responsible, global, digital citizens who are adaptable and they can communicate confidently using technology. Even a small amount of modernization can go a long way. Not everybody needs to be able to code, but most people must know how to use digital technology effectively in the workplace and in life. Satellite classrooms will be piloted at Northeast Comprehensive and Cassibur Secondary. This will allow adults to work by day and attend classes from the Dominica State College in the evening. We encourage our people to take advantage of this. Skilled people who are not certified should use this opportunity to become certified. Because, Mr. Speaker, while we were thinking about our skilled people not getting employed, it wasn't really about not being skilled. They were not certified. So some of our people end up doing all the work and people with the certificate got all the money. But that's not going to happen again because our skilled people will get certified. Maintenance. See right now? Maintenance restoration project. Mr. Speaker, the ministry will continue its maintenance effort diligently and resilience will be our watchword. Teachers' furniture will be distributed among schools. These 14 capital projects will be ongoing in this financial year. The government of Dominica and the government of the People's Republic of China will fund the construction of Kalibishi, Thibault, Belle Bishop, Petit Savan, and Tetmon Primary School. The new Goodwill Secondary School and the state-of-art computer room, classroom block, and kitchen at the Sineku Primary School. These governments and the Canadian government through CDB will fund Granby, Dalis, Monjon, and W.S. Stevens Primary School. These 4 projects will cost approximately 8.1 million EC dollars. The government of the Commonwealth of Dominica will fund the classroom blocks at the Dominica Grammar School, an auditorium, kitchenette, and special education room at the Roosevelt Douglas Primary School. These 2 projects will cost approximately $1,359.65 EC dollars. Other projects to be undertaken in the Ministry of Education this financial year are rehabilitation of the Maho Primary School, rehabilitation of the old public library, and construction of a new library. Mr. Speaker, design plans are completed and tendering process is almost completed for 2 new projects, the rehabilitation at the Dominica Teachers College, the old building, and the Dominica State College. The Ministry of Education remains grateful for our various partnership with friendly organizations, countries, and donors. These collaborations can only result in the overall growth and development of the education system. Mr. Speaker, I wish to express my greatest gratitude and deepest appreciation to all the officers who work with the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence, and I mean all, for pulling together, especially in the face of our adversary, COVID-19. I extend special thanks to my permanent secretary, Mrs. Chandler Hyacinth, and my very young but efficient secretary, Ms. Joanna Carrett. I said to Mrs. Hyacinth last week, I think we need a little retreat soon because we have worked hard and well. Mr. Speaker, it would be selfish of me not to express gratitude to the former Minister of Education, Honorable Peter Sejean, for the work he did, leaving a relatively stable foundation for me to easily build on now. I thank all Cabinet colleagues for your collaboration with the Ministry of Education to make it all happen for the people of Dominica, especially our students. Special gratitude to the Prime Minister, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, who set the stage years ago when he was the Minister of Education. No other government has shown so much passion for educating the population like the Dominica Labour Party. Even while they were in opposition, they started the Cuban scholarship program. So when opposition tell you they can't do nothing, it's lazy, they're lazy. Because even when the Dominican Labour Party was in opposition, they started the Cuban scholarship program. Castle Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I now move to the Castle constituency, where I have served in different capacity for 34 years. The Castle constituency, where the people of Petit-Soufrière, Saint-Sauveur, Good Hope, Mopo, Deepa, Tranto, Formel, and Castle proper are very grateful for the work the Labour Party government is doing. Mr. Speaker, teachers will be teachers. One teacher walks around like an old-time headmistress with a notebook and a pen, writing down all what is wrong and what needs to be done. Even disturbing public servants in the constituency to ask them what needs to be done at the institution where they work, only to use the information to make blows in the air. Another teacher goes around embracing people, feeling their needs, and doing all she can to meet these needs. Teachers will be teachers. One teacher left under one title, Teacher Ernie. Another teacher left under modern free titles, Teacher Bonnie, Mothers, and Auntie Bonnie. Mr. Speaker, when teachers and students who are not related to you and their parents too in any way can bestow upon you the title of mothers and auntie, it means that you have gone beyond teaching, you are now reaching. Teachers will be teachers. Senator John Finn knows me well, and I know her very well. She is my constituent, and I am her palry. Teachers will be teachers. And I want to say one love, Teacher Ernie, one love. Again, I will present the context of where we are in the Castle constituency, followed by where we are going under this budget. Agriculture, crop production. The farmers in the Castle constituencies are very grateful that the government brought their produce for distribution and export during the challenges of COVID-19, and they continue to do so. This helped them greatly to remain financially stable. Everybody in the Castle constituency is planting something. Vegetables are being grown all in the front yard, even in flower pot on the porch. We in the Castle constituency, we have taken advantage of this initiative by the government. Our farmers are becoming motivated once more as they are making use of all the assistance of inputs, tools, and equipment given under the World Bank project. Mr. Speaker, it is just very sad that the most educated person in Good Hope is telling the farmers that this assistance is not from government. The farmers are being told that because the World Bank is not happy with the way government has neglected them, the organization came to their rescue. What dishonesty! Mr. Speaker, I have to take time to explain to farmers in an effort to correct this mischievous misinformation. But I was glad when one happy little farmer from Good Hope said to me, and I quote, "Is that I saying too?" How a man can just come in your house now, and even if you see your cupboard mashed up, just finish, break it, and build a new one for you if you don't even give him right to come in your house. Mr. Speaker, I close quote. That was when I decided and I agreed that common sense beats education. Mr. Speaker, if God has blessed someone with intelligence and the individual uses it to take advantage of others, the Bible refers to that person as an oppressor. So let us all in this honorable house be warned. The new modern cassava processing plant, which is 85% complete, came at a time when the demand for foreign and cassava bread is very high. The 24-strong cassava farmers are very excited about this easy-to-tend crop, and a number of these farmers are now growing sweet cassava, which is becoming a popular staple in our constituency. The bay oil industry in Saint-Sauveur and Petite Soufrière is rapidly growing, and I am well pleased with the number of young people who are becoming involved in this industry. Livestock farmers. We do not have to buy eggs outside of our constituency. The goat rearing business is rapidly expanding in the Castle Bruce constituency. Mr. Speaker, I will have more than 22 goats. The livestock farmers in the area are very eager to expand in pig and cattle rearing. Mr. Speaker, I have some cows too. Fishing. Many fisher folks have received assistance for their boats and motor. Mr. Speaker, high commendations are in order for our fisher folks who continue to supply the constituency with enough fish and still have enough to sell outside of the constituency. Mr. Speaker, I want to pause and say a heartfelt thank you to all the members of the St. David Fisheries Cooperative for your effort in ensuring that we had fish in spite of COVID-19. Mr. Speaker, when COVID hit our shores, Senator John Finn, who is a member of the cooperative, did not even attend a meeting organized to plan the way forward. The fisher folks were waiting for her, but the message they got was, don't look for me at any meeting. I am in Zion hiding away from COVID-19. In fact, since after the election, they have not seen her. To add to it, she directed the gas pump to be closed. Mr. Speaker, these fisher folks had to hire a vehicle to send to Roseau for drums of fuel for them until I intervened. And I want to thank Mr. Ashil Grove, Ms. Cornelia Fountain, and Ms. Roya George for their concern at that time.
Honorable Minister, you have 17 more minutes.
It's good. I also thank graciously the pump attendant for resuming the service after we made gloves, hand sanitizer, and mask available to ensure the safety of all. God bless them real good. So, Mr. Speaker, when you hear some people come to this honorable house and speak about my fisher folks, that is what it is, we. You see, Mr. Speaker, love is not a language of words that we speak with our mouths. Love is a language of action coming from our hearts. Housing. Mr. Speaker, millions of dollars have been spent in the Castle Bruce constituency in providing housing for our people. There were 95 beneficiaries under the Housing Rehabilitation Program at the Castle Bruce constituency at the cost of $802,241.96. In addition to the rebuilding of homes, 4 apartment complexes were built in the constituency, providing safe homes for 128 families. 128 families moved into their resilient, modern, and beautiful apartments. This is 128 homes where students will perform better at school because they can sleep better. 128 homes where residents will pay less visits to the health center because they are not exposed to the elements. They are warm and dry. Less rheumatic pains in the bones of the mamas and the papas. 128 families do not have to suffer panic attack when they hear storm warning is given because they are safe and secure. These families are overjoyed and extremely grateful to the Labour Party government of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and I express gratitude on their behalf. My only sadness is that all those who applied could not receive an apartment. But we shall continue on our mission to ensure that we provide safe and resilient homes for all. Health and wellness. Let me get the water there. Health and wellness. I have always done so. But today, I want to express deepest gratitude and appreciation for the health team in the Castle Bruce district. This team works extremely well, even under constraints and limitation. The team handled the COVID-19 with a level of efficiency that is noteworthy and deserves high praises. We thank the government for the solar system installed at the Castle Bruce Health Center. I cannot wait to see those health workers in action when the Castle Bruce and Sansobe health centers are refurbished and upgraded. I want to extend congratulations to Ms. Sarah Lee Thomas, who graduated from her community health nurse program recently. Social support nets. 182 constituents from the Castle Bruce constituency continue to be employed under the NEP. 8 precious elderly people are benefiting from the Yes We Care. Constituents continue to benefit under the funeral grants and the rapid response program. On some occasions, I forward the messages of gratitude from my people to the Prime Minister so that he can know that the constituents of Castle Bruce appreciate his effort in making life better for them. Everybody in the Castle Bruce constituency received food packages from the government as support in remaining stable while dealing with the effects of COVID-19. Everybody in Good Hope received a package. Everybody, even her, she's my constituent, I am her pal rep. These packages were well received. Everybody, we knew it was not a political thing, we gave out food. Mr. Speaker?
Member.
No, because Mr. Speaker,
just watch the language in regards to even her. Just be parliamentary.
Even
language. Just
okay, Mr. Speaker.
Language.
Okay.
The senator, you could direct it directly to her. Senator,
when we were doing food distribution for those who are really needy, sometimes people's actions can make you mean. So people who are really needy. All on Facebook flash up, I pass a certain house straight. But when we distributed to people who were not so needy, nothing went on Facebook. Yeah, Mr. Speaker? So only old things people like to put on Facebook, and I move on. Sports. Mr. Speaker, I want to highly commend both football teams from the constituency and those who were involved in training them. East Central, captained by Mr. Stanton Serafin, is in 7th place, and We United, captained by Ms. Yvette Laura and Mr. Kurt Christmas, is in 2nd place in the Premier League. Football continues to be the leading sport in the constituency. Education. I wish to express gratitude and high commendation to the principal of the secondary school, Mr. Harrod in Scotland, the principal of the Sansobe Primary School, Mrs. Merlin Rule, and to all the teachers at the Sansobe and Castle Bruce Primary School and the Castle Bruce Secondary School. I join with all in thanking Mr. Jovin Joseph for his 41 years of service as a teacher and principal, and I wish him a happy retirement. I feel sad for the children who will not meet him at the Castle Bruce Primary School because they will miss somebody really special. Congratulations to Anthea John Charles and Ketura Eustache of the Sansobe Primary School for obtaining scholarships and bursary respectively in the last grade 6 national assessment. Congratulations again to the Castle Bruce Secondary School for capturing 1st and 3rd place in the last year's TSEC exam. 109 secondary school students in the constituency received assistance for textbooks. 24 students were assisted with payment of exams. 163 primary school students benefited from the textbook scheme, while 216 benefited from the uniform program. Schools continue to provide hot meals to students, either under the lunch or breakfast program or both. 28 students received school transfer funds, and 79 college students received transportation assistance. 15 students from the Castle Bruce constituency are receiving government assistance as they pursue higher education overseas. All schools in the constituency receive internet connection and devices to assist with the online learning initiative. Everyone needs to take a bow for the effort that was put into this initiative. Sansobe Primary School was rehabilitated on the BNTF 7 program. Initial work consisted of general repairs to the building at a cost of $662.657. The Caribbean Development Bank approved additional grant funds on the BNTF 9 program to provide furniture and equipment for schools. Sansobe Primary School benefited from this initiative. The school received equipment that will enhance the school feeding program. The school will also receive a power wash to assist with maintenance and a water storage tank. Appliances total to $11,500. Mr. Speaker, next time I'm going to calculate that form to tell you how much money is spending in the Cassibus constituency, because that is important. Money coming up in Cassibus. Plumbing work, plumbing work at the sum of $46,000. Plumbing work at the sum of $46,664.09 was undertaken at the Cassibus Secondary School. The school is also very thankful for the furniture received. Funding was approved for the construction of a chicken coop and a slaughterhouse at the Cassibus Secondary School. Road works. We thank the Ministry of Public Works for all the repair work done from Tarish Pit to Petit Soufriere. Good Hope has never seen it looking so good. All the people who drive in Good Hope and the Good Hope people, all I'm hearing them saying, boy, look a nice piece of Baba grid. this, and every time they drive on it, they're saying the same thing, you know. The solar lights have made driving at night very pleasurable, and we are glad that we were not left out. The Cassibus people are very happy for the new resilient Lower Sandhouse Bridge. Security and emergency. Yes, now. We are happy that the work has started on the police station. We also thank the BNTF for work done on Good Hope Resource Center. Work include reinforcement concrete retaining wall with chain-like fence and concrete driveway. General repair work to include replacement of windows and doors and timber rail, installation of a metal entry gate, upgrading of plumbing and electrical, plumbing and water storage. This is such a welcome project, especially since our area is so vulnerable. This will complement our Red Cross house built adjacent to the resource center. We thank the Dominican Association of Local Authorities for repairing the Petit Soufriere Primary School. What can Cassibus prepare for this financial year? So much is going on. I will highlight just the major ones. Crop production. Assistance will continue in the form of input, tools, planting material, and technical support. We are encouraging our people to just plant everything, because there are markets now for everything. A mentoring program will be explored as we begin a program to encourage our youth to engage in both traditional method and more so modern techniques in food production. The refurbishing of the Cassibus Agriculture Station to offer more efficient services to the farmers. Our engagement with Stone and Compass, an organization that wants to invest in the constituency by creating an outdoor lab for organic agriculture for agriculture students abroad, is still ongoing. But COVID-19 is dealing us a blow on this one. The Youth in Agriculture Symposium planned for October is on hold. However, we will keep this project close at hand, since it would generate a lot of economic activity, not just for the Cassibus constituency, but for the entire East. We hope to complete the cassava processing plant in August. We are looking forward to engage the bay oil producers to explore more modern ways of producing bay oil, which will encourage them to work smarter instead of harder. We have to increase our production because the demands are growing rapidly. We will assist those involved in cottage industries such as cocoa sticks and castor oil with proper labeling and packaging. Horticulture.
Honorable Minister, you have 5 more minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Honorable Minister be given an additional 10 minutes to complete her presentation on the budget.
It has been moved and seconded that the Honorable Minister receive an additional 10 minutes to complete the presentation. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
Thank you,
Honorable Minister, you have an additional 10 minutes.
Thank you graciously, Mr. Speaker. Horticulture. Foreign markets are opening to purchase exotic plants. Therefore, the people who are growing exotic plants and what we refer to as spotted plants in Good Hope area will be given technical support as we position ourselves to take advantage of this opportunity. Livestock farmers will continue to assist livestock farmers in fencing and animal housing. Fisher folks will continue to benefit from the World Bank project. They will receive assistance in continuing to purchase their boats and motor. We are investigating improving the Cassibruce Bayside to construct a landing site for the fisher folks at Cassibruce. Additional facilities will be provided in Saint-Sauveur for extra storage for fish. A washroom facility will be constructed as part of the improvement to the Saint-Sauveur fisheries facility. I am in the process of wrapping up a long conversation with sports coordinator. And I'm happy to report that the lighting of the Cassibruce playing field will begin in August. I can just actually hear the shout on the next slide in Cassibruce. We thank the sports division and the Football Association. Education. Internet service at all schools will be upgraded to ensure Wi-Fi access in all classrooms. More than 300 devices will be distributed in the constituency for use by teachers and students. Cassibruce Secondary will get a resilient, modern building which will house free classrooms. This building will also be constructed to accommodate large school activities with prospects for an additional story. Under the BNTF-9, a chicken coop and a slaughterhouse will be constructed at the Cassibruce Secondary School at the cost of $642,217.90. Also, under the BNTF, 2 greenhouses are expected to be erected at the Cassibruce Secondary. Saint-Sauveur Primary School will receive their power wash, and Cassibruce Secondary will be one of the 2 schools at which a satellite classroom will be piloted. We have Senator John Finn talking about teachers who are not appointed for 15 and 20 years in the service. That hurt my heart, man. She was the education officer. So all when the teachers had 6 years and 8 years and 7 years, she was the education officer. But all that time, there I was. She was too busy using people's shoulders as a ladder to get where she wanted and holding down people. And Mr. Speaker, when you hold down people, you have to stay down to hold down people. So you yourself staying down. So she kept herself down because she was holding down. And you know what? God is not a man. Teachers who meet the criteria from all free schools have been recommended for appointment. My students and young people can be rest assured that their PAL rep, who happens to be the Minister for Education, will ensure they benefit from the opportunities for scholarship. Homeowners will receive windows and doors to assist in the completion of their homes. Several families will continue to benefit from the Housing Recovery Program financed by the World Bank. I thank the Cassibruce constituency for your patience. Please do not believe people who are trying to make you believe that because your government does not care about your housing needs, that the World Bank came to help you. All of it is through the efforts of your Labour Party government under the leadership of Honorable Roosevelt Skerry. Health and wellness. The Cassibruce and Saint-Sauveur health centers will be refurbished and upgraded. DUASCO will do a feasibility study to build resilience in the water system in Cassibruce. The Cassibruce Youth Center will be rehabilitated. Our youth will be engaged in new programs on the youth skills for economic growth. We encourage our young people with business ideas to come and start a conversation, especially if you have an idea how to add value to our fish and our agriculture produce or other resources that are in their raw state. If you have a stone that you didn't pay nothing for and you can do something with that stone and sell it, preferential treatment will be given to you for your idea. We encourage our youth to take advantage of everything that is in the budget for you. We will discuss everything in the budget in details at constituency level. All social support programs will continue. Mr. Speaker, I jump in down to road works. In addition to all the roads we will fix within the community, and we have a wall to put up in Petit Soufriere, I want to talk about the reconstruction works on road from Port Cassette to Petit Soufriere, which will commence later this year. This project will benefit everyone in the constituency. The farmers and landowners who have whose land have been repossessed, they'll get paid. More people will visit our area after this road is finished. We can get to Roseau faster. We'll save money on transport parts. Mr. Speaker, this project, which is valued at $126.5 million, will benefit the entire Castle Bruce constituency. $47.5 million will be spent in the Castle Bruce constituency. We are glad that our police station will come to completion this year. Construction work on a regional emergency shelter in Castle Bruce at the cost of $16 million will begin on the 15th of August. This 5-story building will have all the modern amenities. There are provisions for emergency power and water storage, and the shelter will be modern and fully functional. This is superb news for the Castle Bruce people, the Castle Bruce constituency, that the Labour Party gave us priority. In addition, a mini emergency operations center and warehouse in Castle Bruce is expected to commence this year. It will cost $1.5 million. We decided to make Good Hope a model resource center, and the BNTF will sponsor solar renewable energy, equipment, and computers, air condition, search and rescue equipment, and you heard Ms. Paul presented it in her address. That will cost $172,000. Mr. Speaker, this hurricane season, we are safer than we ever were in the Castle Bruce constituency. For this, the people of Castle Bruce constituency, we are grateful. I encourage all the people of Petite Soufrière, Saint-Sauveur, Good Hope, Mopo, Deepa, Tranto, Castle Bruce, Proper, Formel, and the entire East to get ready to find employment in all those projects. Roadworks, disaster shelter, additional classroom at Castle Bruce Secondary, lighting up playing field. We were expecting, and our babies are being born in triplets. So, Mr. Speaker, I say to the Castle Bruce people, get ready for us to work on all of these projects. Yes, we concept those things as our babies, because while they are building, we will look after it, and when it is finished, nobody will come and match it up for us. Castle Bruce people take pride in looking after what they are given. We plan to build some business cubicles for use by our small business owners, because when people are busy at work, there is less time to be deviant, especially if you are young. Those who will be working on the project will need food, so farmers and fishermen will sell more. Snack it operators are going to benefit. Transportation workers will transport people. Heavy equipment and truck owners will be engaged, so fuel sellers will benefit. When people are moving to work, this brings life to the area. When money is flowing, the economy of the area will be positively impacted. Where money is flowing, the standard of living and living condition of people will improve. In addition to all the economic activities that these projects will bring, relationship will be built, because people will meet people from different areas, and these relationships may offer opportunities which may have far-reaching benefits. As I close, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the people of the Castle Bruce constituency for all your love and prayers and for your vote of confidence. The churches, Labour and Friends Group, the Free Village Council, the health team, our emergency COVID-19 team, risk management team, all those who make it happen for me, the schools, the NEP, who work so well under the coordinators of Ms. Julia Winston and Ms. Adelina Gasper. And Mr. Speaker, I extend special thanks to Mr. Drygo, Johnson Drygo, who has taught me so much. If I tell you some of those things, John, don't cheat me, you'll never believe. So much. And continues to work so hard to support me in every way. And not me alone, no. I have to share him with Ms. Roberts and Kozia and everybody on the East. I thank my husband. I call him my love. And the rest of the family for all they do behind the scene. I thank the constituents in the diaspora. People like Dr. John Finn and Ambassador Lauren Banis and Nathalie Lockhart, who is dying to send some supplies down to the health center. All of them make it happen for me. I dare say that the Cassibus constituency is moving further into transformation stage. I thank the Prime Minister and the Dominican Labour Party for giving me the opportunity to serve at this level before retirement age bunks in. Mr. Speaker, that was not on my agenda at all. I didn't see that coming. I didn't plan for that. But I know, let God do his business now. Let God do his business. Mr. Speaker, I thank my cabinet colleagues for being a really good team. We work well together. I want us to be mindful always that God has called us to this position for a time such as this. My grandmother used to say, if your journey is meaningful, you can't stop and throw stones at all dogs that bark on your way because you might not reach where you're going. Therefore, we know the magnitude of the work that lies ahead. We understand that Dominican people are depending on us. Therefore, let us remain focused. Distractors are created to distract. So let them be destructive. Destroyers were made to destroy. So let them be destructive. Disruptors were born to disrupt. So let them be disruptive. But you remain focused. As Philippians 3 verse 13 says, strain forward to what lies ahead. Press on towards the goal. God did not bring us this far to leave us. Let us move ahead by faith in wisdom and grace, knowing that he said to us in Isaiah 41:10, fear not, I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand. Mr. Speaker, I fully and wholeheartedly endorse this budget as presented by the Honorable Minister of Finance. And I look ahead with much enthusiasm to the work ahead in the Ministry of Education and the Cassibus constituency. God will not take us where his grace will not keep us. God bless us all. Jesus love you and I love you too. Good night.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, I recognize the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs, International Business and Diaspora Relations, the Honorable Dr. Kenneth Daru, Member for Pidit-Savan Constituency. You have the floor, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I authorize to make my contribution to this year 2020-2021 budget estimates. But before I begin, let me just say a special thank you to the residents of the Pidit-Savan constituency. Mr. Speaker, a constituency was voted me overwhelmingly for the third consecutive term, Mr. Speaker. And for that, I really would like to thank them for placing their trust in me and the Dominican Labour Party, recognizing that we are the only, and I repeat, only in bold, viable option today in managing the affairs of our beloved country, Mr. Speaker. Let me also say a special congratulations, like my colleague, the Minister with responsibility for senior citizens, to Auntie Anne, our newest, Dominica's newest centenarian. And of course, I had the pleasure and the honor to visit Auntie Anne, as she's affectionately known, in Fosteja, I think sometime last week, where myself and Dr. King paid a visit, and I mean, very lively and sprite. Mr. Prime Minister, so she's asking for you, as I told you. So, yeah, before she said, before she disowns you, I think you should pay a visit soon. Let me also let me also thank the Almighty God for sparing us any damages during the recent inclement weather, Mr. Speaker, and for keeping us safe. We saw 2 weather systems developing over the past week, within a matter of days. We saw one miraculously melted or dissipated way down south, and the other one, which passed, I think, in our area, did minimal damage, Mr. Speaker, and for that we really want to thank God, because God knows that we're at a point in the country, in the nation's history, where we can deal with very little more, Mr. Speaker. So I think we need to pray to God and, of course, thank Him for keeping us safe. And, of course, to join the many others before me in congratulating the Minister of Health and his ministry for their stellar work in containing the dreaded COVID-19 virus, Mr. Speaker. And we have to place this in context, Mr. Speaker, because even as we speak, this dreaded virus, Mr. Speaker, more mature and stable economies are grappling, Mr. Speaker, with this COVID-19 virus. In fact, our great and powerful neighbor to the north, we see every day recording record number of cases and deaths in various states and cities around the USA. So while we give thanks to the nurses, the doctors, the police officers, and all the others who answered the call to serve their country when they were most needed, we talk about the frontline workers. Mr. Speaker, we have to pay homage, we have to say thanks to the minister and his staff. Because, and I listened to the opposition members, Mr. Speaker, and not one of them could bring themselves to thank the minister. Yes, Mr. Speaker, it takes nothing away, it takes other governments by extension. It takes nothing away from the frontline workers, Mr. Speaker, and we've showered them with their flowers and their blessings many a times. But we need to understand it's the government, Mr. Speaker, which implements policies and programs which has to be implemented by these frontline workers. And I'm not sure why they couldn't bring themselves to applaud the government. Not one of them from what I can recall. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what with all the venom and the hate coming from the opposition. So, Madam Speaker, we look at the budget set against the backdrop, one where we are still reeling from the ravages of 2 major disasters within 2 years. And while the opposition, from time to time, you hear them say that, hey, we talk of Tropical Storm Erica and Maria as excuses. They were not excuses, Mr. Speaker. They were not dreams. Tropical Storm Erica did happen. Hurricane Maria did happen. How can you dream about loss of over 300% of your GDP, Mr. Speaker? This is significant. And they happened within the space of 2 years, where entire communities were destroyed, Mr. Speaker. And I speak to the villages of Dubique and Pilit-Sava and among others on the West Coast. Entire communities were destroyed, literally washed and blown away. And this budget also is presented at a time where we are still grappling to repair and rebuild the 90% or more of our housing stock that was destroyed by Hurricane Maria. Being presented, Mr. Speaker, in the midst of a global pandemic, the likes of which the world has never seen for well over a century, Mr. Speaker. And I'm pretty sure that many Dominicans, both here and abroad, were waiting with bated breath, Mr. Speaker, for the presentation of this budget, wondering what new taxes would be imposed upon them, what social programs, would be trimmed or even done right about it, Mr. Speaker. Wondering whether there would be a pay cut of the public service, or maybe far worse than a pay cut, outright reduction of the public service, Mr. Speaker. Wondering whether we would see an appearance, or reappearance rather, of the dreaded austerity measures of the immediate post-2000 era, when Dominica had to recover from the ravages, not of any tropical storm or any dreaded virus, Mr. Speaker, not of any pandemic, but from a Category 20 UWP hurricane, Mr. Speaker, and the dreaded virus, I call it UWP 95. Dominica, we had to recover from these two incidents. But what instead we saw, Mr. Speaker, is a budget of hope, one of faith, a budget of optimism, one that reassures the Dominican people that in spite of all that has happened and is happening as it relates to natural disasters and other external shocks, we saw a budget which still contained a number of measures designed to stimulate the economy and to allow the everyday Joe public a chance to chart a way of life for himself and his family. and we can speak to the digital transformation, agriculture, ongoing assistance to farmers, fishermen, agro-processors, the Dominican Entrepreneurship Visa Program, a special facility to support micro, small, and medium enterprises, concessions to manufacturers, discretionary duty-free on vehicles, the revolutionizing of the healthcare system in Dominica, renewed housing, reduction in land transfer fees, grant to first-time home builders, Mr. Speaker, tax amnesty, and of course, one that I like very much, the decriminalization of the good herb, marijuana, Mr. Speaker. Yeah. In addition to all of the above, Mr. Speaker, we also saw a plethora of other capital projects. I mean, under the Ministry of Public Works, multi-million-dollar projects, Mr. Speaker, still continuing amidst, and after all that I mentioned, the two major disasters, we are still just beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and here comes COVID-19, could still manage to come up with almost a $1 billion project, Mr. Speaker. And I want to join my colleague, Senator Esprit. I was at the table when the friend did ask, in this was the Prime Minister, whether we do not have a mint printing money in secret, because I think people are really expecting, Mr. Speaker, some serious austerity measures. But instead, here we saw a basket still filled with goodies, Mr. Speaker, for the Dominican public. And Mr. Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, hats off to you and your staff for putting together such a wonderful budget. Yet we heard the opposition members, starting, of course, with the leader, saying that the budget was empty, Mr. Speaker. The budget was empty. And these dimensions were just a few of the projects and programs that were mentioned or articulated in this year's budget. We expected the opposition leader to come up with something. I mean, they've had time on their hands, Mr. Speaker. While the government was busy working during this COVID-19 period, they were probably home, I mean, on treadmill and all sorts of stuff. He had months. He had 8 months, because every year, all of us do that. Come the 30th of June, I hope I have the date correct, the financial year comes to an end. So he had months, almost 3/4 of a year to prepare for this budget. Comes 2 hours talking nonsense, Mr. Speaker, basically just echoing the political platform and the same Q95 radio station rhetoric, instead of presenting an alternative, Mr. Speaker, or at least recommendations to strengthen the beef of what was presented by the Minister of Finance. None of this, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I want to thank a very good friend of mine who every day sends me what they call the word of the day. And I saw one that spoke to the leader of the opposition. In fact, the language young people use is if Blafferskite was a person, it would be the opposition leader. And I will spell it. He likes to spell. Blatherskite, Blafferskite. By way of definition, Mr. Speaker, a Blafferskite is someone who goes at great lengths to say plenty of things without saying nothing. So if Blafferskite was a person, I think if you go on social media, you will see these small memes. If Blafferskite was a person, it would be Lennox Clinton, the opposition leader, Mr. Speaker. Speaks a lot without saying anything.
You cannot say Lennox Clinton, you have to...
The opposition member for my regard, Mr. Speaker. And his colleagues were no different. I mean, we saw the senator from Vicar, Senator Clement Maslin, who gave a feeble attempt at trying to be impartial and objective. I commend him, but we need to remind him to watch out. I mean, the last person I saw who tried to be that way was, I think, Sikiri. Sorry, Mr. Speaker, the former Joshua Francis, the former member for the Rosa South, and we all saw what happened to poor Sikiri. Sorry, poor Joshua Francis, Mr. Speaker. It was also a little amusing, Mr. Speaker, to see the senator from the Lapland area, from St. Joseph, Teacher Seeker. I think she occupied my seat for a little moment while they were preparing the podium, and she looked pretty comfortable, Mr. Speaker. And I know it felt good too. I wish you were there. You know, they like to talk and hit and run, you know. And I know it felt good too. And I think even when her colleague, Teacher Ernie, the Senator John Finn, was talking about her constituency, she said, just claim it. Yes, just claim it. I have news for her, Mr. Speaker. You don't just claim this, Mr. Speaker. This is a seat that you have to work hard, Mr. Speaker. Build a relationship with the people, Mr. Speaker, to occupy. So you don't just claim it, as she said. Okay, you have to work hard, build a relationship with the people. This is what gets you into this seat. And Mr. Speaker, from the looks of it, Mr. Speaker, they're not willing to do any of these things, Mr. Speaker. And this is why they're going to be in the political wilderness, Mr. Speaker, for quite a long time. Quite a long time. Because none of them have shown in any substantial way, have done anything or said anything to appeal to the majority of the voters here in Dominica, Mr. Speaker. And that's why they have rejected them not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, but 5 consecutive times. And this is telling, Mr. Speaker, quite telling for political party. Mr. Speaker, so we saw a budget of faith as articulated by the Honorable Minister of Finance, one that gives hope to each and every Dominican, Mr. Speaker, that in spite of the many challenges of recent years, which I articulated, and the ongoing global challenge of the COVID-19, we have crafted a budget that will continue to see Dominica on a road to prosperity, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a road to prosperity that we embarked on, and we are well on our way. And we heard the Honorable Minister of Finance mention, I think it was the IMF projected growth for Dominica, some in the region of 7%, Mr. Minister of Finance, or something, 7-point-something% this year. And Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure how many of us pay attention. I know most of us, we run to the capital estimate and see what's in it for our constituencies. But Roman numeral 4, Mr. Speaker, in the budget estimates document, where it gives certain indicators, Mr. Speaker, as to the last 3 years, certain growth indicators. And the IMF projection of growth, Mr. Speaker, positive growth for Dominica, can be seen here. We saw, for example, tourist arrivals move from 62,000 in 2018 to 89,000 in 2019. Cruise ship passengers moved from 134,000 to 229,000. If we go lower down, Mr. Speaker, we saw agriculture, livestock, and forestry moved to a growth of 13.83% from a negative 28.83% the year before, Mr. Speaker, in 2018. Manufacturing moved to 8%, Mr. Speaker, from negative 11.62% the previous year. Electricity and water moved to 26.49% growth from negative 16.02% the year before, Mr. Speaker. Hotels and restaurants, listen to this, 41.93% as opposed to 22.79% negative the year before, Mr. Speaker. So we are well on track, Mr. Speaker, to achieve this growth percent, this projected 7% growth as indicated by the IMF before this dreaded COVID-19 virus came along. But rest assured, Mr. Speaker, that we will get there, Mr. Speaker. And the budget articulated by the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Speaker, with all the many programs, we will get back on track. Because as the Prime Minister said, this is a budget of faith. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to spend too much time debating the actual budget because the newest members of the House, Mr. Speaker, I think they left very little for the older heads like myself to do, because I think they really need to congratulate themselves, Mr. Speaker, for defending so eloquently, Mr. Speaker, the budget. It has particularly very little for the old heads like myself and Reggie and the others, Minister Austri, to do, Mr. Speaker. So I'll go right into the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Speaker. Our diplomatic efforts over the last year, Mr. Speaker, were directed primarily at pursuing international recognition of our interests, securing international financing for our social and economic development, and securing further support for reconstruction post-Hurricane Maria, and of course, in more recent times, assisting with the fight against the COVID-19 virus, and strengthening and expanding our bilateral relations and the deepening of regional integration. Mr. Speaker, it is important to understand that Dominica's position in the international community can only be strengthened with the expansion of its diplomatic relations at both the bilateral level and the multilateral levels. And we at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, International Business and Diaspora Relations, we continue to oversee and implement government's aggressive foreign policy, focused on the advancement of Dominica's national interests through the active and progressive conduct of its bilateral and multilateral relations. Mr. Speaker, our bilateral relations remain an integral tool in the achievement of government's foreign policy objectives. Government is very aware that the strong bilateral relations result in greater recognition of Dominica in the international arena. Support for Dominica's interests as a small island developing state, including increased access to technical and financial aid, and culture, education, and other schemes from friendly partners. Mr. Speaker, I think you'll be pleased to know that Dominica currently maintains diplomatic relations with 129 countries in Europe, North America, Latin America, the Caribbean, Asia, and Africa. And of course, we are hoping to pursue aggressively the establishment of diplomatic relations with quite a number of other countries that we started discussions with. Of course, our traditional friendly countries such as the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, the Republic of Cuba, the People's Republic of China, and the United Kingdom have remained steadfast in their support and tangible commitment to Dominica. And Mr. Speaker, I really would like to highlight, and especially our relationship with countries such as the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. And even during this trying time as the COVID-19 pandemic, and we all know that Venezuela, they're going through they have their own internal issues, Mr. Speaker. But in spite of that, they value in the friendship and the support that we've given them in many an arena, Mr. Speaker, many a forum, that they, in spite of the internal challenges, Mr. Speaker, the economic and blockade and put against them by the USA, which have really hindered the entrance of foreign currency into the country, Mr. Speaker, they still, whatever little that they have reached out to us, Mr. Speaker, by way of, I think, PCR testing and other equipment to help us fight COVID-19, Mr. Speaker. And I think this is commendable. And we also have to understand, I think, one of the statements that we make from time to time is that we reassure them that we are not fair-weathered friends, Mr. Speaker. Because we recall that back some 10 years ago, if we could backtrack to some 10 years ago, Mr. Speaker, when things were much different, Mr. Speaker, when the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, through the Petro-Carib agreement and others, funded a number of social and community projects, Mr. Speaker. Some of the communities, we still have evidence of that, the filling stations in Fort St. Jean and Scott Z, a number of the Petro-Casas, while the hurricanes did a number on some of them. But all of these housing for low-income families, Mr. Speaker, were funded by the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. And we should not, in addition, a lot of community-based projects, Mr. PM, roads and other community-based projects all around the country. So we are not the type, Mr. Speaker, to turn our backs on friends when things are not going well with them. In fact, by the definition of friend itself, this is when you should stick closer to this person, Mr. Speaker. And then, and we want to reassure them that like we've done many times before, that we are there with them, and then we're hoping, of course, that things will improve and this unjust blockade against them. They seem like the Republic of Cuba, Mr. Speaker. I am a proud product, and I say that everywhere I go. I'm a proud product of the Cuban Scholarship Program. And I'm not sure, I remember, Mr. Speaker, we've been classmates. I've always wanted to be nothing else but a medical doctor my whole life. And I'm not sure where else my poor primary school teacher father would cough up, some $100,000 or $200,000 that is right now needed to pursue a medical degree anywhere in the world, Mr. Speaker. Just as the Ross students, most of the students after obtaining the MD would be left with loans of $200,000, $300,000 US. You with me, Mr. Speaker? So I'm a proud product of the whole Cuban scholarship, and Cuba has shown that despite the 50 or so years of economic blockade against them, in spite of going through what they call a period especial, where they had to go through some serious austerity measures, I think that was the period where I studied in Cuba, Mr. Speaker, that they continue, they have never stopped, neither reduced nor stopped offering scholarships to countries like ours. And not just Dominica, Mr. Speaker, we talk about the whole of the Caribbean and Latin America and as far back as Africa, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, we also need to understand that the COVID-19 pandemic has also shown to the world who are the real humanitarians, who are their real friends, who are the ones that have that love people, Mr. Speaker. Look at what happened in Italy. Italy is supposed to be a first world country, a first world economy, part of the European Union. Cuba had to send brigades upon brigades to assist them, Mr. Speaker, when they were struggling in the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. So in spite of everything, and I'm hoping that, Mr. Speaker, that when all is said and done and then the dust have settled, at least a bit more, over this COVID-19 pandemic, that the world remember who was there for them, Mr. Speaker, in their time of need, Mr. Speaker. And I think the Republic of Cuba is one of the countries that will stand out in people's mind as one of the countries who were there for the less fortunate people, Mr. Speaker. In fact, I think the CARICOM has put forward a proposal nominating Cuba, I think, for the Nobel Peace Prize, Mr. Speaker, and Dominica, of course, as I'm sure you are aware, will stand in full solidarity and support of this notion that Cuba, the country Cuba, be nominated for Nobel Peace Prize in light of all the efforts they've done, Mr. Speaker, in terms of humanitarian aid, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic, Mr. Speaker. The People's Republic of China, what can we not say about the relationship with the People's Republic of China? One that is pretty young, much younger than our relationship with the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and the People's Republic of China, but one that has yielded so much mutual benefit in the short space of time. I think over the past 16 years or so, we are celebrating our 16th anniversary. The People's Republic of China, Mr. Speaker, they've done so much for us in this little space of time. And I think it was the Minister Grant, the Minister for Agriculture, who spoke to our solid stance, Mr. Speaker. I think the Prime Minister have advised that we don't negotiate principle. We don't negotiate principle, Mr. Speaker. I mean, you can negotiate a treaty and whatever document you have signed, words, but you don't negotiate principle. And we want to reassure the People's Republic of China that they have our unwavering support towards the one China policy. We believe in just one and only China, Mr. Speaker. And of course, we want to thank them, Mr. Speaker. They too have reached out to us, I mean, in a tremendous way in our fight against the COVID-19 virus. I mean, they still continue. I'm Minister of Health. I think there's still shipments on the way as we speak in terms of PCR testing and the much needed ventilators at a time when ventilators was probably more valuable, maybe not monetary, but more valuable than diamonds. Mr. Speaker, remember the PRC, People's Republic of China, would have shipped some 15 or 16 ventilators to us, such that we even donated, I think, one or two to some of the lesser islands up north who were grappling also with the ventilator supply. And as I was saying, this is a relationship that was built on mutual respect and principled genuinity, Mr. Speaker. And I think that Minister Grant, the Minister of Agriculture, who spoke to the opposition, Mr. Speaker, and they're flip-flopping. Of course, we recall that they had an invitation to China. And of course, they were singing the praise of China, that the Chinese were the best thing that have happened. And they went to China, of course, to Beijing or Shanghai, I'm not sure which. They went, ate, drank, slept, and visited. And of course, at that point, they absolutely loved the Chinese then. They loved the Chinese. And upon returning, they reverted right back to their old ways, Mr. Speaker. And I think it's a friend of mine who said that they maybe liked the Chinese wonton soup. Wonton soup, it's called? But they certainly did not love the Chinese, Mr. Speaker. And of course, as I said a while ago, we'd like to reassure our friends in the People's Republic of China that as long as this Labour Party remains in power, we will recognize one and only one China, Mr. Speaker. That is the People's Republic of China. Mr. Speaker, evolving global geopolitics and, of course, the changing faces of multilateralism demand that Dominica not only limits its relationships to only traditional partners. So we'll continue to aggressively pursue alliances with new states. One of the areas that we're looking at is the African continent. And, of course, we know that the historical linkage between the African continent and the Caribbean islands, and we feel that somehow we have not done enough to establish formal relationships. So this is an area, of course, we're looking at. In fact, even at the regional level, I think CARICOM is looking to have already set up some embassy in Kenya to serve the CARICOM countries. But we're hoping that at a bilateral level that we can increase our relationship with the African continent, Mr. Speaker. We think that there's a lot that can be derived from the relationship with some of the countries. Recently, we saw the establishment of an embassy in the United Arab Emirates, Mr. Speaker. And these have already begun bearing fruits as we are in discussion with the government of the UAE, who are interested in funding a modern library facility for Dominica, Mr. Speaker. So we continue to aggressively, as I said, forge new alliances. And we remain forever grateful to our friendly countries and our regional and international organizations, because we not only are responsible at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for maintaining the bilateral relations with countries, but also with these organizations such as the WHO, PAHO, the Red Cross, the United Nations, etc., Mr. Speaker. At this point, Mr. Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to thank my colleague minister within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Edward Regis, the permanent secretary, and the entire staff of the ministry, Mr. Speaker. Recently, we just completed a weekend retreat, Mr. Speaker, of the ministry, where the staff was re-energized into recognizing that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs plays a vital and pivotal role, Mr. Speaker, in the development thrust of Dominica, not just for protocol services, etc. Because a lot of times, Mr. Speaker, we let them understand that this is where sometimes a lot of the talk starts and also end. Yes, eventually projects are eventually passed on to line ministries, etc., respective ministries. But a lot of times, Mr. Speaker, the talk starts when a visiting diplomat, ambassador, or foreign affairs minister, etc., visit the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So we have to now see ourselves as a very critical ministry in executing some of these duties. And in fact, during the ongoing pandemic, that was very evident that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was key in getting our ambassadors, our embassies, and even overseas, Mr. Speaker, to send much needed supplies to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic, Mr. Speaker. I would like to take a few minutes, Mr. Speaker, to go through the constituency, because were it not for the people voting me back into office, Mr. Speaker, I would not be speaking as a minister of government. And we know that the P7 constituency is a very, very, very vulnerable part of the country. We have had our fair share of disasters. Tropical Storm Erika, arguably, this was the hardest hit part of the country, where we had two entire communities destroyed and having to be relocated successfully, I might add. And I think the government deserves a round of applause for having successfully relocated two entire communities post-Tropical Storm Erika from the P7 constituency. And sometimes, Mr. Speaker, we are visiting ministers and dignitaries come here and they ask us, how did we do it? How did we do it? I think we had not even started the Bell Bishop resettlement. We had just done the Dubic in Center Petrocasas, and you're asking, what are the repayment terms for these homes? And even more recently, I remember the Ministers of Social Services retreat here in Dominica. When we showed them a presentation of the homes in Bell Bishop, they were asking, what are the repayment terms? So when we said that, no, they're getting them for nothing, they're like, really, how do you guys do it? And I think these are some of the things that we're not sure that where do these opposition members, they don't move around the country to see these things. It looks like they just go straight from their home to Q95 and vice versa, or wherever else it is that they go. But obviously, they don't drive around the country to see the many other apartments, buildings, and homes that have been constructed since the Bell Bishop resettlement. So yes, while we set the trend for these nice climate resilient buildings, since then, Mr. Speaker, a number of these type of buildings have been constructed all across the island. At the constituency level, of course, as I mentioned, housing, we have had a steady rebuilding process. We spent millions on housing repair in addition to the new homes that were built in the Bell Bishop resettlement for the P7 folks. We've also got our fair share of repair of our road network through the Community Road Enhancement Program. Dozens of roads have been done, still a lot more to be done. In fact, I saw quite an amount allocated under the Community Road Enhancement Program Phase 2, of course, and of course we've already submitted a number of roads to be considered under this phase. Myself, together with the Member of Parliament from Granby, we're very elated that the Prime Minister spoke about the Lubia to Granby Road during his address. It's, of course, a UK DFID funded project, one that was visualized, I think, post-tropical Storm Erika, Mr. Prime Minister. Of course, we were in already advanced stages, probably almost pre-tendering stages, when Hurricane Maria came along. And clearly, I mean, I've explained this ad nauseum to the constituents. Why hasn't the road started? We've been hearing about this road for the past 4 years, etc. But clearly, 2 years after Maria came, and the advent of Hurricane Maria would have revealed new vulnerabilities. It would have revealed new areas that we hadn't considered, because we saw things happen during Maria that we never thought would happen. I mean, we saw waterways, or water make its way rather, area that we never thought would happen. And a typical example in this piece of road would be the area between Pichle and Granby in the old boxing plant area. I mean, the river was basically almost half a kilometer towards the cliffside, and the river found itself basically right a half a kilometer away from its normal course, So clearly we now have to go back to the drawing board. And that would have, in addition to going back to the drawing board and rethinking the whole project, clearly we would have, that would have seen a substantial increase in the estimates. And of course, we now have to sit and decide, well, number one, where is the additional funding going to come from, or whether we use the additional funding, what are we going to do to probably, attend to the most critical areas of the road, which is where we are, Mr. Speaker. But rest assured, Mr. Speaker, I want to reassure the constituents that this road will come on track. And we heard the Prime Minister mention it in his budget address, and of course part of the estimates. You heard me also speak to the health centers that are being built. Of the 12 new health centers that are being built in Dominica, we have not just one, but 2 of these new health centers are being built within the constituency, Mr. Speaker. One already completed in the Belle-Bishop area. Of course, that would be to cater for the increasing demand in health services in Belle-Bishop. Belle-Bishop now being, well, I know the Honorable Minister for National Security like to boast of Mao as the #1 community in Dominica, and I'm not going to fight with him over that. But all I can say is that Belle-Bishop is fast becoming the place to be, the place to live and reside in Dominica, Mr. Speaker. Of course, the influx of the new PT7 residents to the area, of course, has contributed to this. And of course, with that, we now know that the little, well, building that served the small Belle-Bishop community can no longer cut it. So what new health center had to be built there. And in the village of Bagatelle, we've seen the construction of the building is in an advanced stage, Mr. Speaker. So out of the 12 health centers, we not have one, but 2 of these health centers are being built in the constituency. And I really want to thank, of course, well, the former Minister of Health for making this happen. Yeah, okay, you guys didn't get it, yeah. As far as education, we also continue to have our fair share of scholarships at the constituency level, the Cuba, China, mainland USA. And even as we speak, Mr. Speaker, I know we have 4 young people from the community of Belle-Bishop alone who are now pursuing studies in medicine. And as I speak, I think just 1, has graduated this year. And on this note, I really would like to reach out to my good friend and strong, long-time party supporter.
25 more minutes, Honorable Minister.
I think that'll be good. That'll be good. Yeah, that'll be good. My good friend Renal Alcendo, let me just reach out to him. I'm sure he's listening and watching, whose daughter graduated from a university in Cuba this year with a medical degree. Long-time, strong, stalwart, Mr. Speaker, party supporter Renal Alcendo from the village of Dubic, living in Granby. Yep. Also, we heard Dr. King also congratulating our first urologist, Dr. Ken Jacob, also from the south of the island. So we see the south of the island maybe leading the way in terms of providing medical services in the near future. We also pursue a very rigorous and aggressive assistance program as it pertains to uniform books and other educational needs for the students of the constituency, Mr. Speaker. I think it's no secret that as part of my good friend. Sorry, can I drink some water, sir? It's no secret, Mr. Speaker, that when it relates to education assistance to my constituent, Mr. Speaker, I can be very aggressive, and I really would like to thank, well, the former Minister of Education and also the Minister of Finance, who many times yielded to some of my most aggressive requests from time to time, Mr. Speaker. But I mean, which is why sometimes, from time to time, you hear people say that you're not doing anything as a member of parliament to assist people. Sometimes it hurts, because when I look at maybe what I do sometimes as compared to some other people, I think I do quite a bit more, Mr. Speaker, as it pertains to getting assistance to my people, right, Honorable Douglas? And then, but we'll continue to forge on, Mr. Speaker. We'll continue to forge on, and we do not allow a show of no appreciation to deter us from continuing to seek assistance for people. Also elated to know and to also inform the public, especially the constituents or residents of the Bell Bishop and well, former P7 area, that we are into the final stages of planning. So that work can begin on the new school. That's the new school that's going to be funded by the People's Republic of China. The issue of land ownership and settlement have been settled for a while now, and we've been reassured by our friends from the embassy here that work should start as soon as the travel woes of the COVID-19 are settled and people can move around freely. We should see a speedy commencement of this much-needed project. Again, much needed because we have seen a substantial increase in the population of that area, Mr. Speaker, with the establishment of the new P7 resettlement. And I'm sure my friend and, of course, my neighboring constituency, Minister Redis, is equally elated because that money is also carded for a new school, Mr. Speaker. As it pertains to young people and sports, Mr. Speaker, again, it's no secret. I mean, I can boast that the P7 constituency, we set the trend, Mr. Speaker, for modernized basketball courts in Dominica, and I mean, this is not up for debate, Mr. Speaker. Specifically in the Pichelin, and I refer specifically to the Pichelin area, Mr. Speaker. Before the advent of this proper modern surfacing and nice backboards, Mr. Speaker, the rest of the constituencies around the island would settle for their normal steel rims and whatever, Mr. Speaker. We introduced this modern hardcore colored painting, Mr. Speaker, and electronic scoreboards and all of this, Mr. Speaker. It's a fact, Mr. Speaker. I mean, in fact, the member for the cottage would, when I needed the project officer responsible for the survey, he would tell me he had to go to Cottage and Tatan and these far places there to help out the member for Cottage because they saw what we had in Pichelin, and of course, subsequently, Bagatelle, and they wanted one like that, and they made. But it's okay, you could have him. We all in this thing together. Yes, yeah. But we've seen a tremendous improvement, Mr. Speaker. As I said, to the basketball court, a really nice modern court in Pichelin. Of course, Maria did a number on the court, but we're in the process, of course, of bouncing back from Maria. We did the same in Bagatelle. In fact, some of the folks from the neighboring communities, including Granby right now, this is where they go to take their sweat in local parlance, Mr. Speaker, in the Bagatelle area. And we plan on doing the same in the Bell Bishop area. Bell Bishop, again, as I said, a very inflated community right now. We have the housing project came with a basic cut, but of course there's still a lot of work to be done. And in fact, when we were asked by the Honorable Minister of Finance, I will send him a reminder. I wouldn't do like Ed. I wouldn't do like the minister from Granby and come out of that. But just a little reminder, sir, that just a little reminder, sir, that when we were asked to submit like two major projects for our constituency, that the development of the remainder of my sporting facilities, Mr. Speaker, was the one I did, because I've seen the difference it made in the community of Fish and also Bagatelle, Mr. Speaker. And while sometimes we've been told that projects do not really cause you to win election, Mr. Speaker, but the young people which we are depending to vote on us, because the old stalwart labor right, Mr. Speaker, they were dying breed, so to speak. I don't know if that song means, no, but it's the truth. And we need to capture the imagination and the attention of the younger people. And I've found that sports has worked well for me, especially in the community of Peachland, Mr. Speaker. Has worked well for me. So we're hoping to mirror these works in the Bell-Bishop area, both on the basketball court and, of course, the playing field. And on this note, I want to commend the various young people, both young men and women, who have put themselves forward to serve on the various sports committees. I've had sports committees set up in both Peachland and Bagatelle, and I found out that sometimes working through them, channeling the funds through them, allowing them to manage their own funds, sometimes works a lot better than going to the councils, because sometimes the generation gap between the young people and the councillors sometimes can cause conflict of where the councillors figure out why we cannot get the supply wood and build a backboard. You understand me? Build a backboard, but we're looking at, with the younger generation, looking at the NBA and ice proper ribs, etc. So this has worked for me, Mr. Speaker. It has worked for me, and I really want to commend the young people. And even more recently, we had this new group established in the Bell-Bishop, which we call the Bell-Bishop Sport and Events Committee. And I want to thank all of them for coming forward to serve, Mr. Speaker. And it came at a critical time, because the influx or the settlement of the folks from the former PD7 community, we already something that we didn't see that would evolve into anything serious, but we saw little spits of friction sometimes between the existing community and the new community, and we felt that, or we feel rather strongly that sports is a way that we can get the two communities to mesh a bit better. And in fact, the committee we ensured is made up of the executive that is made up of members of both the existing Bell-Bishop community and the new incoming or the new PD7 or former PD7 residents, Mr. Speaker. So we hoping that this could help deal with any potential issues that may arise. The NEP, Mr. Speaker, a lot have been said of the NEP by other speakers before me. They said it was an election gimmick, years ago. Years later, we still have the NEP. In fact, hypocritical, Mr. Speaker, we heard them crying, lamenting the fact that the NEP has been trimmed. These were the same ones who some years ago were crying on the NEP. They called it all sorts of ridiculous names and ridiculed the interns and the people employed under the beautification and cleanup program in the various communities. But I want them to know that the allocation has been reduced because, obviously, Mr. Speaker, for greater efficiency, the NEP had to be trimmed. Some people would have moved on, as we said, to establish jobs, etc. And we heard the Senator, the Deputy Speaker, Mr. Speaker, speak to his own personal experience as an NEP intern and how it helped to forge his professional life. But I want to reassure the Minister responsible for NEP, that Mr. Frederick, Honorable Frederick, that at the PD7 constituency, I don't know for other places, I can only speak to PD7, that you get value for your money, Mr. Minister. And I mean, those of us who have taken the opportunity to drive through the Bagatelle, Bell-Bishop, Peachland, in particular the Bagatelle Four-Seja groups, Mr. Speaker, I mean, the work that they do is something else. And not just in the communities. Right now, we have engaged them to help with the hurricane preparedness, so they do a lot of the overhangs and the gutterings all in the former Dubic area, etc. And the work that they do is just remarkable. And I really want to reach out to thank them and to let them know that we appreciate the work they do. In fact, I think the Prime Minister knows some of them very well. I mean, this group are from Point Carib, mainly women. I think about 8 women and one little Meg fella with them. And 8 women, and the work that they do. I mean, Mr. PM, the work that they do, Mr. Speaker, I mean, is just tremendous. And I really want to express my appreciation to entire team, the supervisor, Mrs. Connie Charles, and the team leaders, Julia Bruno, my friend Janet Albert from Bellevue Chopin, among others, Mr. Speaker. So, Senate Minister Frederick, just know that you get in, as I said, and if ever, Mr. Minister of Finance, there was a case to be made for a little increase, trust me, it would have to start with the bagatelle, procedure, and FAB NEP, Mr. Speaker. Yeah. In terms of infrastructure, as I said, we plan to benefit from the phase 2 of the Community Road Enhancement Project. We submitted the roads in the Dubic Community Inn Center for, I know the Minister for Public Works told me that we have to look at it because quite a number of roads, it's one road, just different parts, so if it means that it has to be phased, of course, that we can look at it, with the hope that we can, of course, engage local contractors to stimulate the local economy. In terms of water, Mr. Speaker, incidentally, or coincidentally rather, someone sent me a video today of my famous friend from Bagatelle, Syria. I call him the Video King. He was releasing a video every day, every week before the election. Like my partner from Bagatelle, Syria, Rasta guy, you must have seen him, lamenting on the condition of the water intake in the Bagatelle area. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, it is needing attention. I mean, started with Tropical America and Hurricane Maria. But then again, we would recall, Mr. Speaker, that between Maria and Erika, I mean, a number of water systems were affected, Mr. Speaker, and then rebuilding, everything is not going to be rebuilt all at once. You with me? But those of us who listened would have heard the Prime Minister in his address actually mention or single out the Bagatelle water supply to be upgraded in this fiscal year. So my partner Siri from Bagatelle, so we got that covered, my brother. Okay, we got that covered. We've also seen an improvement, a complete upgrade of the Pishneh water supply. In fact, I'd have to send a member for the Soufriere constituency a bill, because the Pishneh water supply not only supplies the Pishneh community, it also supplies Granby, Tetmon, and right now, Soufriere. Okay, so as far back as Soufriere, so the member for Soufriere, we will send the bill, okay? We also see in this year's estimate an additional sum, I think, for a solar water pump in order to make this, of course, system more resilient, because, of course, now, bearing in mind that we not only have to supply Pishneh, Granby, Tetmon, we also have to take care of my good friend, the member for Soufriere as well. So we need to ensure that this system is up and running in the quickest possible time post-disaster. Speaking of Bagatelle, Mr. Speaker, I'm of course aware of the issues surrounding the bridge. I think I've already addressed the situation with the Minister of Finance and the Minister for Public Works. I'm not going to delve too much into it. The most I will say that we've had some administrative and contractual issues, and let's just hope that we can get this settled as quickly as possible so work can recommence, because I think contrary to what is being said out there, that it was an election gimmick, as I say, it's just unfortunate that we had these administrative and contractual issues. But I'm pretty sure that we can get work started as soon as possible to reassure or to reinstate the people's confidence in that it really wasn't an election gimmick. In the area of Stowe, my colleague also from the Granby Constituency spoke to the Stowe landing site, fisheries landing site. And I want to thank Mr. Shane Alexander, who have done some tremendous work here for us while we await, I think, potentially further upgrades. It's an area that ever since I was Minister with responsibilities for fisheries, that we had started discussion with our Japanese friends. In fact, the very same month of Tropical America, the Japanese had sent a very high-powered technical and engineering team to look at the area. They had studied whatever they call it, bathymetry or whatever, the studies that were needed to be done. Along came Erika, and then of course Maria. So then everything, of course, got pushed back to the back burner, because they now have to concentrate on repair of already existing fisheries complex. In fact, I think it's a little unlucky in that regard, my friends from Granby, because just I think a week or so prior to our measures, we closed our borders due to COVID-19.
Honourable Minister, you have 10 more minutes.
Yes, sir, that's okay. Minister Regis was poised with his portfolio, with his designs, because whenever the Minister of Fisheries had already commissioned the ministry to submit designs for the complex. And what Minister Regis referred to as other activities, what he meant, my friend Ian, was other maritime activities such as diving. I mean, we've been told that this is one of the secret, this is one of Dominica's best kept secrets. I'm Minister for Tourism, we need to talk about that. In fact, the Jungle Bay, before they were relocated to the Sufria constituency, Jungle Bay used to have regular schedule tours to that area because he felt it was his own private, really nice diving site. I don't think he really wanted to share it with the rest of Dominica and the world. But I've been told this is a really nice diving site. The hope was also that we could have some commercial activities in terms of maybe some stalls or units where people could also process fish, sell, package, etc. So we yes, Mr. So we're hoping that we can resume the discussion. As I said, the week where we close our borders to the COVID-19, due to COVID-19, Minister Regis was set to visit Trinidad to attend the Japan CARICOM summit. Of course, his main, I would like to think his main goal would have been to resume the discussions with our Japanese friends. But we're hoping as soon as I said all of this COVID-19 woes are over, that we can, of course, resume discussion. I'm pretty sure that together, so we can get it done. Because apart from the fishing and landing side, it's the most sheltered area of bay, it's a natural bay, most sheltered of calmest area, I say, in the Atlantic Ocean on our eastern side. And we think that it has a lot more to offer than just guys coming in there with their fish and selling fish, etc., Mr. Speaker. So we'll make this happen, Mr. Regis. Bellevue Chopin, we, of course, as I said, we've seen a substantial increase in the population of Bellevue Chopin. We're looking to allocate the units in the commercial plaza, the one the Bellevue folks like to call the mini mall, in the coming weeks, so we can begin to see some sort of economic activity in the area. A number of folks are a bit anxious that they need to get started, etc. In addition, of course, to the allocation of the balance of housing units. And I really want to pause a bit to this note to reassure those of the PD servant residents who have not received the keys that we are looking to bring closure to this within the next 2 weeks or so, because it really has been a difficult and much more complex exercise than we thought initially, because every day would something other that would be brought to our attention as to somebody might have missed out, etc. So we need to ensure that this final allocation of homes, that everything is done as right as possible, Mr. Minister. So with these few words, Mr. Speaker, I think it would be remiss of me if I end without also contributing a few words to the ongoing marijuana or the good old herb debate, Mr. Speaker. Of course, I was equally as elated as the member for the Grand Bay constituency to hear the Prime Minister say that in the next Parliament that we'll be bringing the bill decriminalizing the 18 grams it is, of the 28 grams of the good herb. And we would recall, Mr. Speaker, that in somewhere in 2000, I think, and 12 or so, that the wise regional leaders of CARICOM, they set this national commission, regional commission on marijuana, made up of these really brilliant people, lawyers and doctors, and of course a Rasta man was thrown into the mix, etc. Wide cross-section of folks because they were cognizant of the global trend that this discussion on cannabis sativa was taken. So they mandated the formation of this commission, and of course the commission presented their report to the different countries, giving, of course, a recommendation. But the general consensus was that, Mr. Speaker, that there should be some sort of decriminalization of the good old herb. And of course, while we were a bit late on board, Mr. Speaker, and I think the Minister of Health said it, phrased it, coined it really nice, that it also gave us an opportunity to learn from the mistakes of others who went before us. And I heard my bright partner from Senator Maslin spoke about, this hypocritical way. I mean, we cannot just go open the floodgates on this, Mr. Speaker. We have to, so while I am pro-herb, Mr. Speaker, I'm pro-herb, 100%, the world knows that. But as a medical doctor, Mr. Speaker, we cannot completely ignore the associated risks, Mr. Speaker, especially among our vulnerable population, our children. etc., associated with the herb. So yes, there have been advances made in terms of the medicinal and even from a commercial point of view, but we still cannot deny the psychosis-related, psychosis-induced, marijuana-induced psychosis. And in fact, with all of the billion-dollar industry that they talk about in Colorado and a couple of the other United States, what the statistics don't show, or seldom show unless you look for it, is that we've seen an almost 500% increase in hospital admissions relating directly or indirectly to the use of marijuana, ranging from all sorts of accidents. Of course, folks die, folks get careless, to suicide and attempted suicide and outright psychosis, mental illnesses. So yes, there's attractive billion-dollar industry or trillion-dollar industry, but we need to approach this in a very tapered and tempered way, which is what we're doing. So we start in the low-hanging fruit, Mr. Speaker, which is the decriminalization of this minuscule amount. Well, I say minuscule, can wrap up about 5 joints, I think, Mr. Speaker, 28 grams, and then we will move on to see, we can move into the commercializing and, of course, the medicinal, all of this required. Because it's not just a matter of just telling a man, go and plant ganja and sell ganja for medicine, Mr. Speaker. These things have to be, it's a science, where you have to have certain ratios of the THC as opposed to the cannabinoids, etc., to know which is good forward. So we started, and I'm very happy that we started. I'm sure a lot of the constituents, a lot of the young people who also would have police records for these minuscule amounts are now going to be expunged, right, Mr. Attorney General? Expunge is the word? The expungement of these 28 grams. So I am one who really welcome the call of the decriminalization of the good herb, Mr. Speaker. But I caution, I will never support a free-for-all, open the floodgates approach, but a more cautioned and tapered approach. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, let me just say that I continue to be proud to be a part of this administration, Mr. Speaker. We are in spite of all of these trying times that we're facing, we have faced and still facing, that we continue to see the efforts of the Honorable Minister of Finance, his team, together with his cabinet, make this superhuman effort, Mr. Speaker, to keep, as I think the member for the Central said, to keep our heads afloat while a lot of others are drowning, Mr. Speaker. So I wholeheartedly support the budget estimates before us, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House be Mr. Speaker, I move that the House be adjourned until Tuesday over the 3rd? The 4th? The 4th of August, 2020.
Seconded, Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the House be adjourned until at 10 o'clock, Tuesday, 4th August, 2020. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. This House stands adjourned to meet at 10 a.m. Tuesday, 4th August 2020.